Welcome back to the Cover 2 Zone. After the 2025 NFL Draft, we are picking out some of our biggest winners and losers. We're going to pick two each from the draft. Starting with the winners, Eden, my first winner is the Seattle Seahawks. I think they had a great draft overall. I think they take Gray Zabel first round, addressed a huge need on the offensive line. He's a really, really impressive offensive lineman, can play all across the line. He played center, he played guard, he played tackle. The reports are that he's gonna play guard in Seattle, mainly because his arms aren't too long, and NFL offensive line coaches like a tackle with longer arms than he has. But that fits perfectly with the departure of Laken Tomlinson. He's a plug-in and play starter from day one. He had a 36.5 vertical jump, huge power guy in the combine, so he's really, really impressive. And he's turned down bigger school offers as well to stay at North Dakota State. So it seems like a guy who's really, really grounded and is a good kid, is a loyal teammate as well, which is exactly what Seahawks fans, I think, want out of their players. They then go and get Nick Emawori in the second round, the safety. And when I was reading up about Emawori, Mike McDonald said that he reminded him of Cam Chancellor when he was grading him. So big shoes to fill. But it seems to me like I really like this pick, adding to our already strong DB room, in that you got Kobe Bryant, Reek Woolen, Devin Witherspoon in that DB's room. And I just feel like getting back to, I don't want to put pressure on these guys to be the second coming of the Legion of Boom. That's obviously big shoes to fill, but it feels like that is Seattle football, having a strong DB room that are going to be physical and are going to play their receivers really, really physically. I think that's exactly what Seahawks fans want. And I really, really like this pick in giving them that edge. If you can play like Cam Chancellor, I mean, they've got a real player on their hands, haven't they? And then going down the rest of the draft, they take Elijah Arroyo, the tight end out of Miami, in the third, with a bit of speculation over Noah Fant's future, so he can slot in if Fant leaves. And then they take Jalen Milroe, pick 92, which is a really interesting one. Obviously, Darnold's going to be the starter. And they've got Drew Lock, Sam Howell, and Jaron Hall there as well now. So there's an opportunity there for Milroe to be the backup, I think, and especially his speed. They might use him in wildcat situations. That was one of the suggestions coming out after this draft. So I think it's a really interesting choice, taking Milroe. I like it. It's a bit of a gamble, bit of a risk. Obviously, Sam Darnold had a great year last year, but has been up and down in the NFL, so we don't know what we're going to see with him in Seattle. And then round 5, they get Riley Mills, defensive end out of Notre Dame, who had 17 sacks in college, and he came off an ACL injury, which kind of took him back a little bit. But apparently, all of the reports, he visited Seattle in the off season, and that his rehab is going ahead of schedule, so that's why they like him. I think it's a really good value pick. The 17 sacks in 61 college games at a good program like Notre Dame in the 5th round. I think that's a really good pick. And then in the 7th round, they get Ricky White III from UNLV, wide receiver, who had 4 block punts and was the Mountain West Special Teams Player of the Year. So again, you're adding a little bit of wide. He was the leading receiver on that team as well. I know it's UNLV, it's not a powerhouse program, but you're taking their leading receiver. It's decent depth, and to get a guy who can block punts on special teams is really, really adding value, I think. So really good draft for Seattle, I think. I think they're heading in a really, really good direction.
Yeah, I align with that. I think their running back room is really nice. They added Cooper Kupp in free agency, Sam Darnold. Like you say, if they can recreate the Legion of Boom, that'll be great. So yeah, sounds good.
Who's your first winner?
I've got here Atlanta. Some people will view them as winners, some will view them as losers. I like their aggressive approach. I think they're in win now. They were 31st in sacks last year, so they needed some more production on that side, and they got that with 2 high-end pass rush prospects in Jalen Walker and James Pierce. Really like that. Went DB in the third and the fourth as well. Both of them are safeties, and they do have Jesse Bates there, but I think they're probably more of the style of like positionless football. So really building up that defensive heavy draft. I like it because I feel like their offense is already built. They're in win now. If you've got Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix, Bijan, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, the offensive line looks good. I think, yeah, you've got to win now. I like how aggressive they have been to win now, because yeah, you're going for both of those players will provide production in terms of hopefully being more closer to the middle of the pack in terms of getting after the quarterback. So yeah, really like what Atlanta have done, and I think that division is up for grabs now, and that's why they've kind of gone, let's go after it, because Saints are going to be terrible. Panthers could be okay, and so they're really only competing with the Bucks, and you never know. It could have been a purple patch for the Bucks last season, so that was my winner.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of people some people said that Atlanta didn't address some of their issues. I agree with you. I think they've addressed a lot. I think defense was definitely the way to go, as you mentioned there. Some of the offensive weapons that they have, and I think you make a really good point in that division is up for grabs. I think Tampa are a good team, and we'll speak about them later on. But that I don't think they're unbeatable. They're not a Bills. They're not a Chiefs. They're not a Baltimore even. So yeah, I definitely agree that division is up for grabs, and Atlanta, as we touched on in our NFC gradings, were disappointing last season and really missed an opportunity. So I think addressing the defense, as you mentioned, Jesse Bates, they've got Matthew Judon as well. My only concern is that Grady Jarrett has left this offseason, and they've chosen to go edge, a lot of edge players, where the teams target that run up the middle at them is going to be interesting to see, and their linebacker core might have a lot of work to do in the interior. But I think, I totally agree. I like the value that they got, and I think they've taken the step in the right direction.
And their season all comes down to what Kirk Cousins you're getting, or potentially, I guess it could see a big step up from Michael Penix. So it's just wait and see. But that team is built for win now. So one of those quarterbacks have to produce. Otherwise, they are losers.
Yeah. Moving on to my second winner, I've got the New England Patriots. Unfortunately, a division rival for me, but I really like Will Campbell. Best offensive lineman in the draft, easily. All the reports coming out about his character and his personalities. He's just a really stand-up kid. Was awesome at LSU. I watched him last year when they played Florida, and he can play guard as well. It looks like he's going to play tackle, and I think he should play tackle. But that was a huge need for New England. Drake May was running all over the field last year. They couldn't protect him. They've got a talented quarterback there. I think everyone can agree that Drake May has talent, and they just need to keep him upright and give him some weapons as well, which they did in the second round with Travion Henderson. I think this is a really nice value pick. I don't really love Ramondre Stevenson, if I'm honest. I think he's okay, but I think adding Henderson really gives them much needed depth in the running back room, and a different type of running back as well. He can go out and catch passes a little bit more. He's got a little bit more speed on the outside than Stevenson does. So Gibson is there. Antonio Gibson is there as well. So I really like that. And then Kyle Williams in a receiver in round 3. He's not a tall guy. There's a lot of concerns about he dropped quite a lot of passes, but he is a speed threat. He is a deep threat. And when you're throwing those deeper passes, the percentage of catches made is going to be lower. Is going to be automatically lower, right? Because it's a deeper pass. Unless you're completely open, it's going to be a deeper pass than if you're a guy who just gets in between the zones and finds a soft spot in the zone and takes slants and out routes and all of that kind of thing. So I think they definitely needed some weapons for Drake May, as well as protecting him. And obviously Stephon Diggs coming into the Patriots this year. I think, they added more O-line help with Jared Wilson as well, center out of Georgia, I believe. And then Joshua Farmer, who was from Florida, wasn't happy there were 16 defensive tackles taken before him in the draft. He stated that was a mistake that other teams made. So he's got a chip on his shoulder as well on that defensive side. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. I think there's a lot of holes on this New England team, as we addressed in the AFC rankings. It's not a brilliantly talented team at the moment, but they do have a talented quarterback, and giving him protection and giving him weapons. Look, I've seen some people saying that the Patriots are going to be challenging for this division. I don't know about that. I don't think they're there yet. Or I've even seen some NFL analysts saying that in 2 years' time they'll be a Super Bowl contender. And again, I think that's a bit of a reach. But I do see them improving. And there's an opportunity for them this year with the Jets being in a bit of a mess themselves to elevate themselves from that bottom feeder in the AFC East and overtake the Jets. And who knows what the Dolphins are going to be like this year as well. So there's an opportunity for the Patriots to have a really strong year. Mike Vrabel coming back as head coach as well. I really like him as a head coach. And I think they made some nice moves in this draft, particularly with Will Campbell and protecting Drake May.
Yeah, I agree. And they're not really in a win now mode at all. But the Bills have a claim over that division, and probably for a long time. I mean, yeah, and then you're competing with the Dolphins. So yeah, build for the future. Will Campbell's a great pick. Protect your potential 10, 15 plus year quarterback, and go into the following draft with more experience under rookie belts and stuff like that. So it makes sense.
Your second winner?
Might be a bit biased, but
of course.
But it's similar to Atlanta. I like how aggressive Jacksonville were. They went Travis Hunter this was a weak draft in general. They went Travis Hunter is the elite, the best of the rest. Player number one. Let's go up and get him. We're gonna win this year. So that first round pick, F that first round pick, you can have it. And let's win now. And yeah, I like it. I think technically we're getting a 2-for-1. So I like a deal like that because realistically that first round pick next year, say we do make the playoffs, you're not getting a wide receiver or a DB as good as Travis Hunter in the later first rounds. The question mark is just reps. Can he play both ways? It seems like they're going to make him a receiver first, which I agree with, because I think he is a better receiver than he is a DB. But I think he's cornerback 1, wide receiver 1. We also added Ransel, which and then we added a lot of DBs in free agency. So he doesn't need to come in and immediately contribute. There's versatility in that DB room, which I really like. Got some O-line help with Wyatt Millam. He's pretty solid. We need to keep Trevor upright. And then I really like this pick of Tootin in the later rounds, running back. He ran a 4.32, which, yeah, just get him the ball in open field and let him cook. So division's up for grabs. I'm not huge on Houston, Colts or Titans this year. I think let's win now. I like the aggressive approach. And realistically with Trevor, if you pair BTJ and Travis Hunter, you're putting him in a position to throw the football down the field and score some points. And we need to get this kind of narrative of Trevor Lawrence away, like that general media has, like questioning whether he's a bust or if he's any good. Like, we need a big year from Trevor. So I like the pick. Get him an immediate contributor and potentially Hall of Famer.
Yeah, it's definitely, Travis Hunter is a unique player, isn't he? And I can't remember ever seeing a two-way player in the draft before. I don't think he'll be a two-way player in the NFL. I think it'll be too difficult. They might put him in on defense at times, or perhaps where they've got an injury, or where they see a matchup that they like with him at corner potentially, or on. Do you use him on special teams? Maybe a little bit. So yeah, I do really like the pick, as you said, being aggressive, being win now. This division, as you said, is again similar to the NFC South. The Texans are good, but they're not unbeatable. They're not a Chiefs. They're not a Bills or whatever. So I think, yeah, there is an element of it being up for grabs. Obviously, the Jags defense needed a lot of improvement, and it's going to be interesting with Liam Cohen coming in this year. Obviously, brilliant offensive mind as well. He's going to change that offense a lot, and with Travis Hunter, BTJ, and then who was the running back you said? Sorry.
So we've got ETN, Tank Bidsby, and this new guy Tootin who runs a 4-3-2, which I like. I
mean, ETN was disappointing, wasn't he, last year? Yeah. So it's good competition for him and Bigsby at that spot to make him level up again. You know, he's got talent. He's got talent. He had a bad year, but we know he's a talented running back. So if that prompts him to get back to his old ways, that'll be. And in a new system as well, potentially, where they might use all three of them differently, and it might suit them a little bit better. It will definitely be a positive for the Jags. So, yeah, I agree with you. I do like the aggressiveness, and it's an interesting option. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more top end defensive talent, maybe, and maybe if you don't. If you don't go for Travis Hunter, you go for Abdul Carter in that spot, potentially. But it's an interesting move from the Jags, and let's see if it pays off.
I think, we gave up the most yards allowed, and then we're 30th in interceptions. So we needed DB help, and we got that with Ransell and potentially Hunter. We added a load of DBs in free agency. There's a lot of versatility in that DB room, which I like. I know when talking about just team building, we're just looking at talent, but there is an addition of Jacksonville is such a small market. I think it's like market 32. Having a player like Travis Hunter is just always going to help. It's a business. The NFL is a business. We're going to have more bloody Instagram reels and stuff like that about Jacksonville, because I do feel like Jacksonville is like one of the more forgotten teams in the NFL. So yeah, more spotlight is always good for the team and the business in general. So yeah, I just really like the pick.
What surprised me once, I think, I might be wrong on this, but I read it somewhere. Jacksonville is actually the 12th most populated city in the US, which I couldn't believe. And when I went there, it was a ghost town until the game kicked off. Like, until you got around the stadium, it was an absolute ghost town. I love the stadium, by the way. It's one of my favorite stadiums I've ever been to. But yeah, I think you're right. It'll definitely help sell tickets, help sell jerseys, help create a buzz around the Jags again. Similar to when they drafted Trevor, right? Like when Trevor came in, again, jerseys, ticket sales.
Does it take the pressure off Trevor a little bit? The spotlight a little bit off Trevor.
I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. I think at least for this this off season and going into the season, all the talk is going to be about Travis Hunter around the Jags.
There will be a little bit of this is Trevor's last chance. Like I think it is.
He's the quarterback, but it's going to take the spotlight off him a little bit, which I think will help him, because he seems a really nice guy who's not looking for the limelight at all. He just goes out and plays, and I think he's been good. He's just had a lot to deal with in Jacksonville. It's not been an ideal situation, and he's been very good at times when he's been able to stay up on his feet and stuff. And yeah, he's had some shaky moments, but I think the team has, and there's definitely talent there. So
one last snippet on Travis Hunter as well. Something I read is his high school coach. I think it was an interview. Said that he would talk to, I think it was the wide receiver room, like his wide receivers, of what the DBs are doing. And that just, his football IQ is off the charts. The fact that he's been able to do it in high school and college, I don't think that. I think he could do it in the NFL, and even if he can't, he can read NFL. Like if he's playing receiver, he can read NFL defenses and NFL corners at an elite level compared to other receivers in the league. So regardless, he's going to be a great receiver. Regardless, it's just whether you go, is trading a first round pick worth it for an elite receiver? So you're picking him 102 and then giving up potentially. I mean, if we're winning it, let's call it like 120. Is that worth it for just a receiver? You kind of need him to be good on both sides of the ball, and I do think he can do that.
Okay, moving on to our losers, and I've got two possibly controversial ones here. My first one is the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people saying they had a good draft, and I don't hate it necessarily. My biggest problem is the quarterback. I mean, they take Will Howard in the third round, I think it was, which okay, they've taken a quarterback, but I don't like this idea that they are waiting for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, if he is to come into the Steelers, has effectively gone, you're going to wait for me. I'm going to do what I want. Even though I was terrible at the Jets and I've completely left their franchise in a mess. I've made a documentary about myself and how I like going on ayahuasca retreats and yoga retreats and whatever he does. I haven't seen the documentary, and it's not Pittsburgh Steelers to do that. It's not Mike Tomlin to let a player dictate what you're going to do. And I don't think it's worth it for what is he, 38, 39 now? Or is he even 40?
Close to, whatever it is, close to 40.
Yeah, for Aaron Rodgers, who obviously was great in Green Bay. He was great in Green Bay, but he was pretty terrible. I mean, obviously had a bad injury in the first year of the Jets, but his stock is surely not that high that they are waiting on him and not taking a QB in this draft, or a high enough QB in this draft. Shedeur Sanders was there. And I'm not saying they had to take him and pick 20 necessarily. Obviously, he's fallen to 5. They could have taken him instead of Will Howard in round 3, and nobody would have gone, that's a reach or anything. Just taking a gamble on a guy like Shedeur Sanders.
I think that's a good fit as well, Mike Tomlin and Shedeur Sanders. I feel like Mike, dealing with players like Antonio Brown and stuff, characters aren't an issue for Mike because he can kind of hone them in. And Dion probably has respect for Mike Tomlin, so he wouldn't be yapping or whatever. So
yeah. And Pittsburgh's a respectable franchise. They do things right. They do as you said, like Dion couldn't have had any hang-ups about the Steelers really, because they're a great franchise who has a long history of doing things right. And I mean, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing year, and Dion can't say anything to Mike Tomlin. And I say they're a loser because I just think they were so conservative in this draft. I think they had an opportunity to take a few risks, right? The problem with the Steelers that we've said, their defense is great and they rely on the defense, but their offense is the one holding them back. And they didn't really take much offense in this draft. I think that, they take Derek Harmon in the first round, who's a great player and will be much needed when Cam Hayward, retires or lets up. But Cam Hayward is still playing really well. They could have gone another year and got another player to replace Cam Hayward. I think this was the draft that they needed to address the offense more. Like they take Jack Sawyer, an edge out of Ohio State, in round 4 with TJ Watt, Highsmith, and Nick Herbig already there. Where's he going to play? They bolstered defense, but they just, for me, there's not enough offense on this. And this was the draft that they could really take some risks. And I know the Steelers have this blueprint of being smart, taking defense, making their defense their bread and butter. But I just would have liked to see them take more risks in this draft and potentially elevate themselves to the next level. Again, I don't think it's necessarily that they've taken bad players. It's just, I think they've taken them in the wrong positions.
Yeah, the Steelers are one of those teams where that defense will always be great. They got some weapons at receiver. You would have liked to see them take Shedeur in that instead of Will Howard. Just potentially more upside with Shedeur. And yeah, it's spot on. Mike Tomlin, does he have the safest job in the NFL?
Along with John Harbaugh, probably. Yeah.
And Andy Reid, I suppose.
And Andy Reid, yeah.
Nick Sirianni, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not a bad draft. They're not bad players. I don't think they've necessarily reached for anything crazy, but I just would have liked them to take more risks and address the offense a bit more than they did.
If anything, it would. I think, looking at the Steelers long term, they should have tried to get more draft capital to maybe get as much draft capital as possible to trade up next season where the quarterback class is nice, and because they're going to be picking late rounds again because they will have another winning season, and therefore they won't be able to be in the Arch Manning sweepstakes or anything, whatever. Build that draft capital to trade up next year. Probably would have been my strategy, but I'm not an NFL GM.
Yeah, and we'll see where they land. I can just see it being another kind of year where the Steelers go just above 500 and maybe playoffs, but are a one and done really, because their offense is just, their defense is great, but the offense, I think they have added DK Metcalf obviously, but we still don't know who's going to be thrown to him. Not necessarily that they needed to take like Jackson Dart or someone like that. Not even that. But they could have taken Shedeur in the 3rd round or something like that, and that still would have been great value and a risk worth taking, in my opinion.
Yeah. Shall we keep it within the division?
Go on.
I've got the Bengals as my loser. Off the back of talking about the Steelers, not had a losing season. You've also got the Ravens in that division. Browns are the Browns. Ignore the Browns. But that's a tough division to win. And we know how good that offense is. It's no joke. It's best offense in the league. Superstar offense. They need more help on the defensive side of the ball, but they need production now. They're potentially losing Trey Hendrickson, which is just obviously tough, losing all those sacks. You need someone to come in and fill in that production. And who do you draft? The guy with 4.5 career sacks in college. I mean, don't get me wrong. Freak athlete can become an absolute superstar after a good bit of coaching and everything. But yeah, production's not there. They need to win now. They need production now, especially if they lose Hendrickson. I just didn't really like their draft. It was just a bit meh throughout. And yeah, they've not done anything to convince me that they're winning that division based off the moves they made. So they had some defensive help in the later rounds and a bit of O-line, but yeah, just very Bengals draft. And yeah, ideally, I'd like to see him. I think defensive end was the right pick. I just would have liked to see more production, even if that means taking someone like, taking a good defensive end in the 2nd round. Who was there?
Yeah, I agree. I've not watched a lot of Shamar Stewart, to be honest, but I've seen a lot of NFL analysts slating the Bengals for this draft. I think, 4 sacks in college is as you mentioned, you need production now, you need win now. You can't really afford for him to be growing into the season. And okay, you're not going to get an Abdul Carter. You're not going to trade up for like somebody like him probably, but they needed somebody who can make an instant impact and has like a higher floor, I guess, than
and that's the thing. I understand the pick in terms of ceiling. I completely get it. Like the Jags, we took Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson. In terms of production, that's a terrible pick. But they're going, Trayvon Walker could be better based off size, strength, all these measurables and intangibles and all that. But the Jags, we're not in. Well, now we're in win now mode. But when that pick was made, we finished dead last, so we weren't in win now mode. Whereas the Bengals are, and you're losing Trey Hendrickson. You need production, and he could come in, Shamar Stewart could come in and dominate, but what's the likelihood of that if he didn't get the production in college? To come into a grown man league and get more production than you did in college.
The Bengals, if they're going to be successful this season, are going to have to outscore everyone. That's the defense is not good at the minute, and that's a lot to put on Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and you get an injury to one of those guys, and suddenly it's all over almost, because you haven't got that two phases of your team. And to be a Super Bowl contender, to be even a playoff contender, you need to have good production on both sides of the ball. You can't win by just outscoring everyone. The old saying is true: defense wins championships. And if you don't have defense, you ain't going to win a championship.
Especially in that division.
Yeah, exactly. It's arguably one of the toughest in football. If the Browns get better as well, it could be. But yeah, I totally agree. I think the Bengals are going to bungle. And with that, we'll move on to my second loser, which might be even more controversial than the Steelers. I've gone for the Denver Broncos. And this, again, similar to the Steelers, me picking them as a loser is all about the lack of weapons and offensive production. I think they don't take a receiver till round 3, which in our AFC gradings, we talked about how great a season the Broncos had, and they were brilliant. But you look at the receiver core, and there's not a great deal of talent there. I mean, Cortland Sutton is decent, but he's been very, very up and down. And they take Pat Bryant out of Illinois in the 3rd round. And Sean Payton was saying he likes receivers with potential. And for me, that similar to the Bengals, they need production now at the receiver position. They're opening a Super Bowl window potentially as well with Bo Nix, with that offensive line, with that elite defense that they've got. They are potentially going into a Super Bowl contender window. And I don't think they need potential. I think they need guys who are going to produce in the next 1 to 2 years at receiver if they're going to have any hope at all. I mean, Barron is a great player. It's a great pick, but you already have Surtain and McMillan at that position. And again, similar to the Steelers, I would have liked to have seen them take a bit more of a risk and be more aggressive in their offensive pursuits. I mean, Omarion Hampton was there. Matthew Golden was there. Those are just 2 weapons that, I really like Omarion Hampton. I think behind that elite offensive line, he could have been excellent for the Broncos. I really like Matthew Golden as well, who went to the Packers. I think he could have been a plug-in and play receiver, start from day one, and could have been a really good weapon for Bo Nix. Like, he's got the offensive line to keep him upright. He just needs weapons. And again, similar to the Steelers, not that they haven't picked good players. I just would have liked to have seen them being more aggressive to the offense and giving Bo Nix more weapons to work with.
Yeah, I would have loved to see them trade up for Genty. Be hyper aggressive and just.
I think, but
we're winning. Screw those first round picks. We're winning. Let's go get Genty. Let's give Bo Nix an absolute monster to hand the ball off to. I think Cortland Sutton's decent enough. You could probably, find
the receiver there, Marvin Mims.
But if you've got Genty to hand the ball off to, if Sean Payton, like the comparison with Genty is Kamara, less so on the receiving side, but just the contact balance, just like that would have been a great fit.
Omarion Hampton was there, and he's in my mind as good as Genty, really. I mean, he's right up there with. He was the second running back in this class.
He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's really good. Yeah. Genty's different, mate. Genty is an incredible player.
Still, the jury's out on Genty for me. We'll see. Because he plays for Boise
Bro
State.
had more yards after contact than the next guy had yards.
Some of the tackling in that division was dreadful. Anyway, I'm not saying he's going to be a bust. I'm just not sure. I really liked Omarion Hampton, and he was there for the Broncos, and I would have liked them to. the comparison to him has been J.K. Dobbins, and when J.K. Dobbins is healthy, he is a great running back. He just can't stay healthy. And if the Broncos had added a J.K. Dobbins type back, or even Matthew Golden at receiver, I think that would have been a much better pick than picking another corner who could be elite, but they've got an elite corner there at the moment. And yeah, it's similar to the Steelers. I would have just liked to have seen them be more aggressive on the offensive side and give Bo Nix some weapons. Who's your second loser?
My second loser is sneak peek into our power rankings is probably going to be my team that I predict finished dead last this season. The Aints. I just don't see what the Saints are doing. Obviously they're in cap hell at the moment, and Banks is a good offensive tackle. Nothing wrong with that pick. It's premier position. Great pick. Fine. It's just Tyler Slough. You've got Derek Carr, who's got a shoulder injury. But that's a decent bridge quarterback to have. Why are you drafting a 26-year-old quarterback with injury issues? Tyler Slough was in the same recruiting class as Trevor Lawrence. Put that into perspective. I mean, that is... And people are like, saying this is the last season for Trevor to prove it, right? So you've got a player similar age to Trevor just now as a rookie. There's just not a lot of upside for me. Injury concerns, weird pick. I think, like I said, Banks is a fine pick, but following it up with Slough doesn't really make sense. It's only a good pick if he comes in, starts, and is good immediately and helps that team win. But arguably, that we say that division's up for grabs, but I just don't see the Saints even competing, full stop, in any games. I just think they're terrible. So I think they should have been building for the future, but I guess they can't because they're in cap hell. They're just a weird team. There's a weird energy around that team. I think you probably should have gone with the more upside in Shadur, maybe. But yeah, we'll see. He can make like off-platform throws. People like that one throw against, I can't remember what team. Yeah, great throw. He can do that, but he's 26, injury history. I mean, and he's joining a terrible team. So is he really going to elevate? I don't see it.
Yeah, it is a bit of an odd pick. It's a big risk, obviously, and the one thing I will say is Kellen Moore's coming in there now, and he's a great offensive coach. So if he can work with Tyler Slough or
Slough, Tyler Slough.
No, we'll go with Tyler Slough. If we can work with him and turn him into, a good QB, but I don't think he's going to start this year, right? It's still going to be Derek Carr, you'd imagine.
It's Derek Carr's job to lose. He's like a second round pick. Like,
yeah, I agree. The age thing is a bit strange, especially when you had Shador there all of that time. And when you
want projects or immediate starters in the second round, I think. He's probably not an immediate starter and he's not a project. So what is he? He's a 26-year-old. He's a 26-year-old project, but that can't be a project because you're 26. And that's an NFL quarterback.
When you said he's in the same recruiting class as Trevor Lawrence, that does ring a few bells, doesn't it? And I think that the Saints are in a tough spot with their cap. And I think, as you said, they could be in for a really long season this season, and it depends. It depends how Derek Carr responds. Obviously, there were rumors of him being traded in the off season as well. That looks like it hasn't happened now, but they're in a tough spot, and this is an odd pick. I agree with you. Would it have been better to either trade away that pick or go for something else that's going to address another balance on your team and just accept that you might be one of the top 5 picks in next year's draft and go for a quarterback in next year's draft that, is going to be more of a safe bet. maybe that's the way they go. But let's see what Kellen Moore does. And yeah, it'll be an interesting one.
At the end of the day, it's a second round pick, so I'm not overreacting like this is an F. It's absolutely terrible. Yeah. I just think it doesn't really make sense. I would have gone for a swing with a higher ceiling type quarterback, not an older guy, or just get a better positional value. I know quarterback's obviously an important position, but they're not going to win next year. So go get someone to help the quarterback you draft next year.
Yeah, agreed. That brings to a close our draft winners and losers. Head over to the channel for more NFL content, and we'll see you soon.